Today we are going to be talking about real estate investing. This is one of my favorite topics, obviously, and I have the man with me today, Tom McKay, who's someone who I consider to be a mentor. I've actually flown out. He's invited me to fly out to Austin to visit him and to see his properties and to see how he manages the properties and how he puts together deals. And I got to tell you guys, I mean, he's the real deal. This is the guy that I go to ask for questions because I think, you see a lot of people here on YouTube and you hear a lot of advice, but you don't see a lot of people who actually are really practitioners, who actually really have the investments and that's what they do. And this is what Tom does. So welcome back, Tom.
Hey, thanks, John. Glad to be on your blog. Yeah, it's interesting what you're talking about, because it's one of the frustrations I have is I'll see people that are looking for mentorship, and there's people that have had a certain amount of success in one area or another, and they kind of extrapolate that to be success in areas they don't know anything about. And I mean, if you notice, there was a lot of people talking about Bitcoin that didn't know crap about Bitcoin.
Exactly, yeah.
And so you got people that don't know shit about Bitcoin telling people, to buy it. And then all of a sudden they're talking about their loss. And it's like, well, you led people down a road you didn't know anything about. And what a shame, what a shame. And so like with my blog started out, I've got 4 kids. I got 2 girls in college that are over 20, and I got 2 boys that are just 16 right now. They're only about 13 when I started my blog. Yeah. And I wanted to lay out a blueprint for them to follow when they got interested in real estate, and so I tried to talk to people in my blog as if I was talking to my kids, In other words, just try to walk them through it like I would a friend. Like I walked you guys through, when you flew up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, it's a source of frustration when I see people that are scammed and taken advantage of. Another thing, my father died of Alzheimer's, and so did his mother. And my mother has dementia. Hers was stroke induced. So I don't know how long I'm going to be able to share what I've got in my head.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No. Yeah.
So I gotta make. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say. So yeah. So I mean, it's kind of hard because I think for a lot of people wanting to get started in real estate investment, or just to invest in general, just to like build up some kind of retirement, or to retire young, to become wealthy. There's so many people out there that are preaching all these different things, and it's hard to know, right? It's like even people that are watching now, they're like, some people are skeptical of me in this channel, and especially they're going to say, this interview, and they're going to say, oh, I don't know about these 2 guys. Like, how do we know? What's kind of the things that you look for to figure out if someone is legit or not? And I guess maybe even just like of the people that are kind of, I'm not afraid to draw some fire, but we can name some names, like, because people put themselves in public, they should be available for criticism. So what are some people also like that are out there right now that you're seeing on YouTube, and, who's legit, who's not?
I haven't looked at them all, obviously, but there's definitely some out there. But to your point is Mark Wahlberg. We know who he is, right? Super fit guy, actor. And he said something, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, I'm not going to listen to anybody tell me how to get in shape that isn't in better shape than I am, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's just common sense. Right. And so really, people got to use their common sense, because there's a lot of snake oil salesmen out there that promote, hey, I'm going to show you how to get rich. I'm going to, and what they don't do is they don't demonstrate that they have any real experience themselves. They don't show, look at the money I made here, look at the money I made there. And I know what I've seen of you. That's kind of how I found you, when somebody was interviewing you and you were showing how you created your first $10,000 a month. And I thought, hey, here's a credible guy. And that's how you identify credibility. You test sincerity with the wallet. And I say that all the time when people want to buy something from me, or even when I want to go buy a property from someone. Man, I throw a big down payment or a big deposit. That's my way of telling people I'm serious. And
Right. Exactly.
you can, to parallel that, if you're going to listen to somebody tell you how to make money, then you need to test sincerity with the wallet. Show me your wallet a little bit. Show me what you've made. How did you make your money? Let's talk about a real deal. And I was just looking at Graham Stephan, young man. I think he's about 30 years old, very popular. And, I just did a little tiny video on him the other day, and I hadn't looked at him too deeply, to be quite honest. But he is talking about his $6 million portfolio. Well, when he opens up his portfolio, and I give him credit for being honest, but he bought something for $69,000 and $79,000, but it was full market at the time. He got it at a short sale, which there was a lot of that going on at that time. He's over in San Bernardino, and I'm familiar with that area because on the other side of the hill, I've actually probably bought 100 properties over in LA County. But again, he's got a portfolio of about 5 or 6 properties, but he's never sold any of them.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. And then what's funny is when he gets to the end of his portfolio, he says, "Oh, and so I showed you $4 million worth of real estate. Well, you're wondering where the other $2 million of my $6 million portfolio is." He says, "Here it is. It's $1.8 million that he has saved." Okay.
Nothing quite.
So I don't think he is a good mentor for telling people how to make money in real estate. But be a great mentor for telling people how to become a successful realtor. Because that's what got him. That's where he started getting. That's where he started making big commissions. I think he knocks down $500,000 to $700,000 a year with the money that he takes in as a realtor, just in agents.
Well, you should see his YouTube money. He's making.
Well, he's got YouTube money on top of that.
He's doing about I think $150,000 a month in YouTube money. So it's good because you bring up a really good point, which is like you need to know where people are making their money, because it doesn't just because someone made a lot of money in one area doesn't mean that they suddenly know everything about real estate. Because I like some of the stuff that Graham Stephan says, and he's got some good advice. But as far as the real estate investing, like you said, it's a little suspect. He's just trying to cover the topic, but he doesn't have the actual in-depth experience.
Yeah, and I'm not knocking the guy. Yeah. But it's really, you're just, he's unboxing a $20,000 watch, and he's, these things are entertaining to some, but to be honest, that's like me. I can't stand watching football. And the reason I can't stand watching football is I'm watching millionaires making millions right before my eyes while I'm sitting still. It drives me crazy. And I'm not knocking sports, but it's not my deal. It's not my deal. I'll save that for when I retire, But there's that. And like I said, you really got to, somebody making $500,000 or $1 million a year, and they're paying full retail for real estate. You're kind of wasting your time watching that guy. If you want to call it entertainment, like watching a movie, fine. But you're probably, if your desire is to create and make wealth, you're probably wasting your time. That's all. That's all. And but you mentioned who else you mentioned? Ben Mallah.
Okay, yeah, I'm curious on him because I haven't seen a lot of. He's just coming up now. He's got a personality. Obviously he's good for YouTube. But he seems like, everything I've heard from him, it seems to pass the shit tests to me. But what do you think about him?
I'm 100% with you. I hadn't even watched him that much, but every time I hear him give advice, it sounds like I'm listening to myself talk, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Okay. And now he started out a little bit differently, but he's got a real credible way that he started. Okay. He started in property management. Mm-hmm. I caught that from one of his episodes. So he became a property manager. So he was managing other people's assets. And so he saw when there was a vacancy, he could see these properties going upside down when they weren't making their mortgage. And then the pressure's on him to keep his job, get that damn thing rented. And so he had the incentive to get it rented to keep his client as a property manager. That's a great incentive. So he's immersed. He's got passion. He's got, so he's credible because and I don't know everything about him, but supposedly he's got, a couple $100 million in real estate, which is super, and but again, so he's credible. When I hear him talking about how to start, he's talking about, spreadsheets and talking about borrowing money, 100%. I haven't, not one flaw. And, and he's actually shows property that he's bought. That's another key thing. I do it too. I show deals that I've made. Now he's buying some deals that are up to $17 million. And these are nice big properties. And he's got stuff $1 million here, not so big of properties. But yeah, I think he's the real deal. I like when I listen to him, and I haven't listened to him that much. What I have watched of him, I like him. And you're right, he's a big, kind of reminds me of like a real estate Rodney Dangerfield. He's a little bit self-deprecating too. He's fun to watch. He really is.
I was thinking Sopranos. I think like a hitman when I say
yeah, Gandolfino. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, he definitely looks like he could be in that.
Okay, so I mean, it sounds like too. Like I think, one of the criteria I use to evaluate someone too is like, just you can almost like listen in 5 minutes, and how they're speaking about the topic tells you like, but it only works if you actually have the knowledge, right? Because like you could hear someone talk about real estate investment and know that they're actually a real estate investor, whereas the layperson can't. Like they don't know because they're like, okay, this guy sounds good, right? So I think that's a difficulty for a lot of the people that are maybe watching and trying to figure out who to listen to.
Right. So the real test for that guy, and believe me, I've sat in meetings in property owners associations where I have big properties, and I'll listen to some guy in that just bullshits these guys, and I see guys that are pretty smart just all of a sudden going into la land, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah. And then I ask the tough questions, and all of a sudden the guy starts to stammer, and they're starting to go, yeah, what about that? Yeah, it's unbelievable how easily people are duped. So, but the bottom line is, you got to just, show them the money, show the experience. Yeah, like true. I can tell you, when I started, and why I think I am a really good mentor for people that have zero, and I'm also good for guys that are multimillionaires. It doesn't matter because I started with zero. And so a lot of people are kind of starting from very modest means. And so, you can be buying a property, a lot, for $10,000, turning it and making $5,000 or $10,000. And that's how I started. I started, I was self-employed. It was very tough in the beginning, but what opened my eyes up early is when I was trying to rent a building, a hungry realtor said, Tom, why don't you buy this building? And I'm like, I got long hair down to my shoulders. I got bloodshot eyes because I had terrible allergies. I looked like I was high, and I go, yeah, who's gonna sell me a building? I can't even, get a loan for a car at the time, so I was so young. And he said, hey, owner financing. And that's what's in my book, is about owner financing. I talk a lot about that. Owner financing is fantastic, and there's more opportunities for owner financing right now than ever before. When I started buying and selling real estate, the average interest rate was 10%. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you could get 10%. When I was a kid, you could put your money in the bank and get 10% from a bank.
Wow.
Interest rates were getting near 15 back then. Okay. And so people don't even know that. Younger people don't know what the hell I'm talking about when I say it, but that's how it was. And so the reason is people used to be able to live on their money. In other words, if you had 200 grand, whatever, say 30 years ago, we had $20,000 a year coming in on your 200 grand. Put it in a T-bill, commit it for 10 years. That was enough to live on. Okay. Yeah. Now you don't get 20 grand on $2 million. 1% on $2 million. Yeah. 20,000 a year. There's people on welfare that get more than that from the government for free. You know what I mean? And they're considered on welfare. So you think about that. So you really got to make your money count. And this is one of the things that I really most concerned with when I see people falling false mentors and, slick people, because your money is the biggest tool that you have. And when you're starting with zero, it's simple. You got to buy under market. That way you can sell it and make something. Yeah, and then you have to do this over and over again in the beginning. Now, if you're somebody that maybe you've already got established, maybe you're married, you got some kids, and you got some more concerns about your security. So that's fine. You've got credibility. You've got a job. Okay, so now you can buy something. Still, you got to buy under market, and you can do that by just studying the marketplace that you're going to buy in. Because if you study it and you go, okay, gee, every time I look at a house, it's 120,000 or 200,000 or less, or land, or it doesn't even matter what it is. It's all relative. When you find something, when you're looking and looking, then all of a sudden you find something that is 40% less. Maybe it hasn't hit the market yet. That's, believe me, it's always stuff that hasn't hit the market is the biggest opportunity. Now you snag it, you get it. Now you've got it tied up. Then you buy it, and now if you've got a good credit and you can buy it, you buy it. And now if you want to take the lazy man's way, you can just sit on that asset and then save yourself another 20,000 with your job over the next few years, and then you can do it again.
Yeah.
And you can do that 5 times over 10 years, and these assets will be worth, probably 5-6 times what you paid for them at least by the time you retire. And now you got a nice little nest egg. Now, if you want to go into high speed, then you get a little more aggressive. And that's kind of somebody like me. I was flipping and flipping and flipping. At first, I was dependent on a partner, or I was dependent on somebody loaning me money at a high rate. And then I discovered assignments. Now, assignments are beautiful because if you're somebody that doesn't have a lot of money, or even if you have a lot of money, because it's all relative to your income, the deals that you might go after, is you go find a deal. Because that's what, it doesn't matter. I can be somebody like me that's wealthy, somebody maybe else that isn't wealthy. We could be looking for the same stuff. Well, the guy that doesn't have the money, if he finds a deal and he gets his name on the line to buy the property, he's got the advantage of, he's got the contract. So now when he goes looking for money, he's in, and I tell people this story because that's what happened to me. I'd already bought a few properties, and I found another one I could buy for $170,000, I think it was. Well, I couldn't buy it. I couldn't buy it quick. I couldn't even probably have the credit to buy it at that time. But I owned probably $300,000 or $400,000 worth of property at that time because all of that was owner financed. So I went to my old boss, John Brooks, and I said, "Hey, John, man, I got this great deal." And he owned hundreds of thousands of square feet of buildings. And he said, "Okay, Tommy," he called me Tommy. He comes over and he takes a look and he goes, "Let's see what you got." I take him and I walk him over to the building. He goes, "Tommy," he goes, "that's a good deal." He goes, "You're right. There's $50,000, $70,000 here." And I said, "Well, let's buy it. We'll split the money." And he goes, "I don't want a partner." And I was like, "Huh?" You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And I go, "Wait a minute." And he goes, "How about I give you $20,000 and I just buy it by myself?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's a fantastic idea." I never thought of that. And that is how I learned about assignments, not flipping. This isn't flipping.
No. Yeah, it's flipping the contract. It's just the
contract. It's the most beautiful thing there is, and it's something anybody can do. And it's funny because even if you don't come up with the idea yourself, when you go looking for a partner, it's going to happen. If they're a real estate guy, they're going to say, "Hey, how about if I just pay you to go away and I take your place?" It's beautiful. And so that is that. See, and again, like you say, when you talk to somebody, it doesn't take very long to identify experience, right?
Yeah.
Because these are the kinds of things that the guys in the seminars that are BSing people, they don't have these stories. They've never done it. And they certainly can't say from a first person perspective. I tell the story. And so that's again, like I say, it's important. And, another one that I've heard nothing but bad things about is Than Merrill. Okay. So I hear about these Than Merrill seminars. I haven't been to one, but there's one called the Frugal Vagabond. It's a site, and I actually know somebody that went to a Than Merrill, seminar, and it's supposedly a free seminar. Free seminar. I hear them advertised even locally myself. I might actually go to one because there's one coming in a week or two.
They better watch out if you.
Yeah, I may go in there. Yeah, I'll go in there and listen. But from what I understand, if it's not a Than Merrill seminar, this is the routine that they talk about. They gather all these people in and they start to share information. But what they're quickly trying to identify is how much money do you have available on your credit card or in your bank account. And then what they do is they start to separate the people by income. They'll say, who wants to really make money, be in the VIP club, and have access to, you know, our boss's millions to buy great deals. Who has $40,000 and is really, you know, and then hands go up and they say, hey, you and you go over here to the VIP room or whatever, another room. And then somebody's in there that specializes in selling the $40,000 program. Then it's like, how many people have 20 grand, you know, are serious about making money, but only have 20 grand? Those hands go up. Okay, you folks, you go over in the other room. And then they go through and they start working these people for their 20 grand. Then they come in and they say, who has 5 grand? Hands go up. Okay, you folks, I want you to stay. The rest of you, this concludes the free seminar.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, and so then you've got a concentrated effort to take money from people in these 3 different class of, you know, income. And it's just sad. You know, in fact, somebody told me actually they got taken for $1,200. And again, yeah, I don't know Than Merrill, but what I haven't seen is hey, I made 5 grand on this, 10 grand on this, 40 grand on this. I want to see real deals, you know. And you know, like I walked you around, I showed you properties I made $1 million on that I didn't even know. It was just by re-renting. And when I listen to somebody like Ben Mallah, same thing. I hear myself. You know what I mean? So he's a real deal. I have, you know, little I've looked, I think that's a great guy, Ben Mallah.
Yeah.
Grant Cardone. Now there's another one. Mm-hmm. Grant Cardone, I think, is a super salesman. You know, I think
definitely.
He's a great motivator of salespeople, and probably for selling anything. You know what I mean? And but what I don't see from Grant Cardone, I mean, I've seen one little episode where he talked about a house he bought 30 years ago, and he turned it, and I don't know, he made a little bit of money, wished he held it or something. I don't know. But what I understand from what I've seen is Grant seems to be looking for people that have a certain amount of wealth that can jump into his syndicate. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, he's got his Cardone Capital. Yep.
Cardone, so he's looking for investors. Okay. So I don't think that helps a little guy that's trying to flip and make money. I mean, he might have some valid stuff for being a good salesman at the, you know, selling stuff at Best Buy or wherever, you know, whatever sales you do, he could be motivational. But again, I wouldn't extrapolate it to being an investor.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of his earlier advice was more geared towards doing individual investments yourself, but now his real thing is take your money and invest with me, and I'll invest your money for you and split the returns, which again, like you said, that's more of not the real estate investor, but just the investor in general, which
passive investor. Yeah. Somebody can throw money and see where it goes.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, you know, Dave Delgado was one of the pioneers of selling. He was the real deal.
Yeah.
He really made his money in courses. And actually, I met him recently. He's got a big vineyard out in Napa Valley. He's got a fantastic wine. He's got 3 tasting rooms. And he's got 100 points from Robert Parker, who's an aficionado wine. So he really knows his wine. But, you know, again, now his money is the real estate, but the real estate is the wine. It's, you know, that stuff that was $100,000 an acre 20 years ago, now it's $1 million an acre, and he's still buying property. So yeah.
You know who? I don't know if you've had exposure to. Have you heard of Meet Kevin?
You know what? I've seen a tiny bit of him. Yeah, just a little bit.
I feel like he's got some pretty good stuff. At first I was a little skeptical. He's got kind of a different presentation style, but you know, everything that I've kind of heard him talk about, he does a lot of clickbaity stuff, but I feel like everything I've heard him talk about is seemed to me pretty solid. Like it's for the type, especially very similar to the kind of investments that I started out doing with the small scale, like single family properties.
Where is he located anyhow? Because I saw just a tiny piece and it was talking about buying a $30,000 house. When I see that, I think, are they in Michigan? Because
no, he's in California. I think that was kind of a weird thing where he met some guy that bought a bunch of trailer houses or something somewhere out. So that was not his usual deal. I think what his big thing is finding wedge deals, is to find like properties that are under market, right? So like in maybe a place where average house is going for 500,000, you find a property for like 370 that needs some repairs, and then you repair it, and then now you have a $500,000 investment that you didn't put
he
that
may
much
be
into.
totally credible. I don't know. I hadn't really looked at him much, but he's pretty polished and good. I mean,
He's got the.
I look like a plumber's helper in all my videos. He's a real estate agent too, I believe.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I think he's friends with Graham. So, but okay, so I think one thing that a lot of people don't really give you. I would say that this is always like the question is what is it like if you were advising someone starting out, because more people are just kind of starting out, right? Where should they go and where should they start? And I think that's why, I think that's the reason why people go to the seminars and they get sucked in for 5, 10, 20 grand, is because they're like, well, if someone would just tell me what to do, then I would do it, and they don't know where to go. So if you had to give kind of the best advice for someone that, let's say that they had 10 grand, what should they do with 10 grand?
Well, I can tell you, if I was starting out brand new and I had 10 grand, okay.
Yeah.
Well, two things. If I wasn't a realtor, I'd become a realtor, okay, just to immerse myself in it, or maybe become a property manager, just to be immersed in that stuff. But talking about the cash itself, I wouldn't hand it to somebody else. Nobody's going to take anybody takes your 10 grand, you're gone. That's the lesson you just learned is, a fool and his money are soon parted. That's what they say. And that's the lesson you get is, I shouldn't have never done that. That's your seed capital. If you got $10,000, hang on to it, okay? Hang on to it. Now, get your knowledge base. Start learning about real estate that you can buy with 10 grand, okay? We're in a day, if you go to land, 10 grand, that can be a deposit to buy something up to $100,000. 10 grand down, buy something for 100,000, somebody carries a note. So land is wonderful. If you can find lots, a lot of times you go through a neighborhood and you'll go, well, that's funny. You'll see a lot where there's not a house. Or maybe you see a house with an extra big yard, right? That's a vacant lot. That's a vacant lot. Find out who owns that lot. It probably belongs to one of those two houses, okay? Knock on the door, find out who owns the lot. But before you do that, figure out what that lot is worth, okay? You got to know what it's worth, because the preparation is a knowing value. So I bought a lot of property for 10 grand, believe it or not. I found an area around a lake. This is out in California, Lake Hughes and Lake Elizabeth is what it was called. And there was a bunch of lots. I mean, people wanted 30,000 for some review, but others were 15,000, and others were bought so long ago, people just they forgot they even owned them. And that's what a lot of data mining is going on right now. They're data mining property to find people that if they've owned it a long time, they can afford to sell it under market. And some people just don't care. I mean, people, how they have cars for kids and they donate money. People donate land like that too. So you can knock on the door of somebody like that, or hit them with an email or a letter, get a hold of them and say, hey, you got this lot doing nothing. How about I give you $1,000 for it? And maybe it's worth 10,000.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised. Hey, you know what? Sure, I'll sell it to you. And then boom, you just open up escrow, you fire off a contract, you get it signed, and you close the deal. And then flip that lot and make yourself $5,000 or $9,000. And now you just doubled your money. More than 10 times your money if you bought it for $1,000. Those deals exist, okay? But there is nobody that you're going to pay $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to. They are not going to hand you that deal. They're not
exactly. Yeah.
It's silly. It's just silly. And people equate, and we all do, right? If you're going to buy something, a stereo or something, and you go, gee, it's only $100. You're like, I'm afraid I'm going to get my money's worth, right? Because you're getting it so cheap. Okay. So people they equate quality with price. So you know what? I want a quality course. I'm going to pay $20,000 or $40,000, but they're not buying quality. They're buying blue sky. They're buying blue sky because the reality is, to be a real estate investor and make a lot of money, it is work. You have to educate yourself on value. So you know a deal when you see one. And I'm someone that I've actually lost deals, and I talk about it on my blog. I one time could have bought a beach house for $250,000, and the kid saw me writing down the phone number on a for sale sign on a beach house, and all of a sudden I got this kid talking to me out of a bathroom window in the house next to it.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Don't buy that one, buy this one. My mom's selling it." And I go, "Okay, well, what's your mom's number?" He gives me the mom's phone number, but I was just getting started.
Yeah.
I made the mistake of calling her immediately, and she said, "You know what?" She said, "I'll take $250,000 for it." Maybe she said 220. She said, "Give me 50,000 down, and I'll carry a note." And she lived in Bell Canyon, which you probably know, it's a ritzy area in California. And I called her and I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Well, I'll get back with you, you know." And so I lived an hour away from this beach area. This is in Channel Islands, near Ventura, California.
Mm.
So I go home, I'm busy, I'm looking at stuff. Well, I realize her place is worth about $450,000.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it's been a week, and I called her back and I said, hey, I just want to let you know, give me your address, I'll come over, I'll bring you 50,000. And she said, this is what she said, she didn't say anything first. She just goes, "He who waits gets left at the starting gate." And I'm like, "Oh, that doesn't sound good."
Yeah.
And she says, "I had a realtor come to me yesterday, so I missed it. I mean, I blew it. I was there first. Now it's gone. And he told me that if he couldn't sell this property for $420,000, that he would buy it himself." And so
Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay, well, thank you." And it was done.
Yeah, that's it.
That could have been me turning something for 220 or 250, whatever it was. I don't remember exactly.
Right.
I could have made 200 grand, or I could have made 150 in a week, you know?
Right.
And I didn't have a lot of money at that time. I had already bought probably 20 properties by then. But again, I keep myself broke, always, in real estate. And I still do that.
Yeah.
But anyways, so the 10 grand, that 10 grand is your seed capital. Even if you have $2,000, when you go to enter a contract with somebody, you want to be able to put a $500 deposit down if it's a $100,000 property, or a $2,000 deposit, because what you're telling them is, "I'm serious. This is a serious deposit." So now you don't have any money, but you have enough money to put down a serious deposit. Okay. Now the contract may be structured, and all of them are, that you have time to see that the title is clear. And what I always say, I need 30 days to satisfy myself with the title report. Okay. So that's my hedge. If for some reason I can't get the money together, I'm not going to lose my deposit.
Exactly.
I can say, "You know what? I'm not satisfied with it, even though it's perfect. I'm not
exactly.
satisfied."
Yeah.
I let it go. And I kick myself later for not getting the money together. And so, if you've got, I don't care if it's 2,000 or 5,000 or 10,000, hang on to your money. It's one thing to buy a course for, $500 or something. You can do that. And there might be some, there's information in there, forms and stuff that, well, it'll take you $500 worth of time to get those things together sometimes. But for the most part, you can get everything kind of what you need on YouTube to listen to, or you can get somebody that you respect on YouTube that has a book, okay, that is concentrated on what you need to do. That makes sense because it's like a condensed version. That, what's our buddy Manny? What does he do? What do you call those things? Footnotes.
Oh, this book summaries. Yeah. Book summaries.
So that's
exactly.
You get a book from somebody like you, you got your simple program. You got a book, right? A book or two. It's a concentrated summary of what you've been talking about in 2,000 or 3,000 hours. So
exactly.
That's a value. So So if I don't care if you got 10 grand or 100 grand, there's no reason to give somebody tens of thousands of dollars. It's there. And, if you're starting with very little, then, I even tell people, look, the example I make is I know tools. I know machine tools. I have a machine shop. So if I'm looking for a lathe, a new lathe to buy, and I want to get a good used lathe for 10 grand, and then let's say I'm looking and looking and looking, then all of a sudden I can find 2 of them for $5,000. Well, I'm going to buy them both. I'm going to keep one and sell the other and make 5 grand, and that pays for the one I got. And it's the same. You can do that with things and then graduate to real estate if you don't have a lot of cash. So
okay, yeah, I like what you're saying there. It's interesting because there's 2 things, and this is, when I coach people, I always tell them to like understand the market, like that we spend the first 3 months with them, because when you see the value, then like with that beach house example, like if you knew immediately that house was worth 450,000, you would have on the spot said, oh, let me just run back to my house and get my checkbook. I'll be right back, and give her the 50 grand.
Oh yeah, I would have jumped through the ceiling.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and yeah.
And that's great.
I've lost other deals too. I mean, I lost a deal that cost me $1.5 million, and it wasn't that long ago. I got a mother with Alzheimer's. I got kids. I got things that sidelined me. But now, does it hurt? Yeah. I'm sorry I didn't make this $1.5 million. But you know what? To lose that today, it doesn't hurt near as much as losing that 150.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't have the money.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I like it because I like the approach that you have. That it's like, it doesn't matter, like because if you find the deal, if you find the value, you don't really need a lot of money, right? Which is something that like I think I learned from you, because all of my real estate investing is predicated on like just doing long-term investments where I'm building cash flow, or I'm building equity over time, or leverage appreciation. And yes, I'm looking to get things about 10 or 20% under market value, because I want the money baked in. But when I saw you doing deals, I saw that your approach was totally different in the fact that you're just really focusing on the deal itself, finding a good deal, and then everything else is secondary, because if you have a good deal, you have money instantly, and then everything else is a bonus on top. And I like that approach because it's smart. You don't have to have a lot of money to do that. You don't have to be looking at the long-term investment. You can just look at, okay, is this a deal? Is this an opportunity? Like you just said with the tools, if you're looking for a lathe, and that this is under market, it requires you to know the market. But yeah, that's I think a lot of people could utilize that. So.
Right. And think about it, like even some people, when they go to buy their first home or they go to buy their first car,
right,
they spend all this time, they spend months looking to get the good deal, and then they get the good deal. Well, why stop? You've got all this knowledge, and it could be any product that you're looking to get a deal on that you buy. You've invested 3 months to find a deal, and you found your deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now you still don't quit. Go ahead and buy that deal, but don't stop. Keep looking for that deal again, because you have the knowledge base. You have all this time invested in knowing the market on that particular product, or that lot, or that subdivision, or that tracts of land. You've got that knowledge. Why throw it out the door?
Right.
It's there. You've got it. And that is what you do. I mean, that's what I tell people to do is, I talk about a thing in my book and in my YouTube blog is a real estate barbell. Okay. So a barbell, right? You got a rod and you got 2 big weights, right? So the reason I call it a real estate barbell is because it's what it looked like from the sky. I was looking at my properties that I had in California a long time ago. And you can see I have this cluster of properties that I bought all around my home.
Right.
And then I bought another building about 10 miles away. And then I bought my building. Well, I do the same thing around my building, my place of work, as I do my home. On my way home, of course, I'm driving down this straight stretch. So I see things that are for sale along the way. I spot deals here and there. I start buying things along this main corridor along the way. Then when I get to work, I start looking around my neighborhood at lunchtime, or when I run to the hardware store, or whatever I got to do, the errands around my office. Well, I start picking up properties around there too. Right. And I'm doing the same thing around my house. So it looks like a barbell cluster. I buy stuff along the main thoroughfare that I see going back and forth to these 2 areas. But the areas that I frequent most, they're just clustered with real estate investments that I bought and flipped and made money on. And so that's what I call a real estate barbell. The easiest thing to look at is the properties around which you live, because you go get a glass of milk, or you get milk and groceries. You go to Starbucks over here. You're bouncing all around the area around your house, drive in your neighborhood. Friends have kids. You run them around. You see the neighborhood just because you live in the neighborhood. Same thing happens at your workplace. If you have a factory job or whatever, you go in and out. You go out to lunch. You start searching, so you can know too. And these could be an industrial area. If you got an industrial type job or commercial type job, over here it's commercial, industrial, and over here it's houses by where you live.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, that is what you got to do, is build your knowledge base on real estate. And time flies, and as you start making money, you can afford to hang on to the stuff that cash flows.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then pretty soon you're like, you might have tens of millions of dollars in real estate, and you don't really want to flip it because you got to go find something else to buy, but you're happy with the return on that money. And so, I tell people too, you got to be so careful, because you'll see first, second, and third phase tract homes that go up for sale. But people come in and they're buying the first phase, and then that phase gets bought up. And before they buy it all up, they see the second phase. Now the second phase for the same homes is $20,000 more. And then they start selling out. Then the third phase, 20,000 more again. Well, then the economy goes down. Okay, well, the people in the third phase, they're screwed because they paid full market. Right. And now the fourth phase is coming on, or maybe the third phase is starting to sell for as cheap as the second phase. So now, third phase is upside down. Second phase can't compete because they'll put any color carpet you went in. They're competing with the remainder of that from the builder. And now they're stuck. Well, so now the first stage, you think, oh, he's not stuck because he bought it for $40,000 less. But the economy gets worse. And they start selling the fourth phase or the remainder of the third phase for less than they sold the first phase for.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's stuck.
Yeah.
And so you can't afford to make that kind of mistake when you're beginning to build your empire, because you're upside down from the beginning. That's not where to start. So that's why the money is, you got 10 grand, back to your original thing. What do you do with 10 grand? You spend it wisely. You consider it your best tool, and anything you buy, you have to buy under market. And that's your hedge to get out if things start to dive and you want to hold on to it. You jump out and unharmed and with a profit. So that's kind of my.
Oh, no, that makes perfect sense. Okay. So, let's talk a little bit about, so you have a book, finally. Been wanting you to make a book, and you've got a book, and like you're saying, you've got obviously, thousands of hours worth of content. In fact, your book is more like a course. I read through it and got through a lot of familiar stories, right? That we'd spent days, you telling me, but you've got it condensed in here so that people can get that knowledge. So tell me a little bit about kind of what's in the book and where people can get it.
Okay, so this is my book right here. Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. And basically, this book is exactly how I started. In fact, I started to write that book back in 1992, believe it or not. But everything, what's funny is I put it away for a while, and then I, added to it, and since I've been made many, many, many millions since. But basically, it's a lot of what we just even talked about. It's pretty much a blueprint on how to start. Find an area, concentrate on an area. I talk about owner financing. I talk about how to write your contracts. There's a lot to, some people are just sitting on a fence. Well, it's very important how you sit down and approach somebody. I have a thing I wrote the other day, writing contracts on napkins. And that's because a lot of times when I'm writing a deal with somebody, they say they want to sell, but their property's not listed. Well, I'm sitting down at a coffee table. Well, what's there? A napkin.
Exactly.
And I say, okay, you want, 20,000. Okay, I write 20,000. And will you carry a note? Okay. Oh, you'll carry a note? Okay. You'll carry a note for 15,000 for, 5%. We write that down. Well, I write down everything that they told me they would accept on this napkin. They think I'm just taking notes. But when I get to the bottom, I go, hey, all right, it's a deal. And I sign it.
Yeah.
And then I turn the napkin to them. And I say, and if they go, oh, wow, that's that easy. I say, yeah, it's that easy. I'll go open up escrow tomorrow and I'll buy it with the terms that you just said you'd take. And I'm like, okay. And they sign it. And if somebody hesitates, then I just say, is there something you want to change? You know what I mean?
There you go. Yeah.
I don't want to waste time. I don't want to waste time either. You know, it's funny. I had a guy that he had a for sale sign in front of a big property. I would go and talk to this old guy every day, try to make a deal. And I'd say he wanted 200 grand. I said, okay, I'll give you 200 grand. And he said, well, yeah, let me think about it. And I said, well, okay. I come back. I go, well, I decided I'm going to raise it to 220. I said, okay, I'll give you 220. And, you know, anyways, I talked to this guy for 10 years until it went up to 400 grand. And then one time he's yelling at me. He goes, you keep coming around. He goes, I don't even need to sell this property. Okay. Now he's talking to me like his hands out, just like I'm talking to you right now. Behind him is a 8-foot by 4-foot for sale sign. And I go, Henry, turn around. And he turns around, he's looking at his for sale sign. I go, I didn't just come here to talk to you. It says the place is for sale. You know what? So that was a waste of time. I wasted 20 years talking to him. And he finally, I told him, I said, I know what's going to end up happening. I said, I'm going to end up buying this from your kids. And sure enough, he died. I talked to his kids about buying it. They made a huge mistake. He had an old building on this thing, which he should have left. They should have left.
Yeah.
He mowed the building down.
Oh.
And the building, and this is the kind of thing folks need to know. When you have something existing like that, you can add on to it much easier than you can. You tear it down, you're back to square one, current standards. I mean, you're screwed. You have to go through the same process as everybody else. Where if you had an existing structure, there's all kinds of loopholes where you can add on to that without having to dig a reservoir for detention and all kinds of stuff. So anyways, but you know, that's just one of many stories. I just did a video the other day on how I made 140 grand in 3 months. And that was me just driving down the road. I saw an old man walk into his office, little insurance, Progressive Insurance. And I called him up, said, hey, you want to sell? And he said, no, I don't. I said, well, keep me in mind, would you? He said, sure. 2 weeks later, somebody calls me and says, hey, Tom, will you let me out of my lease? It was one of my tenants. He said, will you let me out of my lease? And I said, well, sure, I guess. And he said, I got a property I can buy. I said, well, that's great. And then while he's talking to me, he's talking himself out of the deal. He goes, well, you know what? Never mind, Tom. I ain't going to buy that thing. I go, whoa, wait a minute. Tell me about this property. Well, he's describing the property that I just called on, and it was. And I said, John, I'm turning my truck around. I'm coming to your office right now. I said, you've got to buy that. And if you don't buy it, I'll buy it with you. And if you don't want it, I'll buy it from you. And we went down there, immediately drove over there, wrote the contract up. I told him, I said, John, you can buy it without me. You can buy it with me. I said, well, we got to buy this thing. And I said, if you don't want to buy it, I said, I'll give you 10 grand. Assignment fee, right?
Yeah,
I said, I'll give you 10 grand. I'll just take it. The next day he says, were you serious about that 10 grand, Tom? I go, absolutely. I couldn't wait to run over there and write him a check for 10 grand because now it's all mine, you know? And those are the kinds of things that when you'll learn, you will develop a radar for picking up deals like nobody else. And that's what's in my book that's the kind of stuff you learn. This is $10. It's like buying an old fashioned at the bar or, a beer. It's nothing for the amount of money that I've made and the experience that I've gone through that I write this from. It's, I know how valuable it is. So I could be doing seminars and taking money, but the fact is I'll take your $10. I ain't going to take 1,000 or 2,000 because a lot of people, even some people will buy this book and it'll collect dust.
Right. Yeah.
With it. And that's on you, whoever buys it and does nothing, because it's there. And John, like I've seen you bought a lot of stuff, you're doing fantastic, and people can make a lot of money. But the fact is, you can say it's work, yes, but guess what? It's not 40 hours a week for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
It's a small amount of effort. Jim Rohn, I'm a fan of Jim Rohn. He's a motivational speaker, been dead 10 years or so.
Yeah.
And I didn't even discover him until after he's dead. But he talks about you make your part-time income. Always take time to make your part-time income. Pretty soon your part-time income exceeds your full-time job.
Exactly.
And then
Yeah.
you make your part-time job your full-time job. And then you're, it's like a big cart. I tell people real estate, now I've got it, a big cart, hard to get rolling. But once you get it rolling, hard to stop.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, and then you have to hire management people to help you manage your big car because you got more stuff than you can take care of, but it's a good problem to have. The other day I made a video too. I wrote it, I was writing out my checks right at this desk here. $424,000 in property taxes.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Oh gosh, it's hard to stomach.
Almost $40,000 a month in property tax. Now, sounds terrible, but it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But that's what's possible with real estate. I don't know any other way where people can just launch and make so much money, because real estate is one of the only assets that you can buy that historically increases in value. Can't do it with cars. You can't do it, there might be a couple of weird things you can buy that go up in value, but for the most part, banks will throw money at you to buy real estate. It's good collateral, and you're making money on all that money that is borrowed or that you take, that you owe. You're making money on that money. That money is appreciated. All the borrowed money is appreciated. So
I think that's the big thing that people don't understand. In fact, a video of mine just came out today arguing with someone about, he was trying to claim that all debt is bad. And it's such a ridiculous, because the only way to become rich at all is leverage. You have to have leverage. There's no way you're going to become wealthy without some form of leverage, whether you're leveraging your time, leveraging your money, you're leveraging someone else's money. Like, it has to be leverage. And yeah, I think people just don't understand how powerful the concept that is. The fact that you're able to have an asset that continues to go up in value, but you only have to put down a small percentage of the actual cost of it but you realize the full appreciation off of the entire amount. And that's why real estate is so powerful, but so many people don't realize that. So
right, and on that subject, and I like people to understand this. So look, when I go buy something that costs, say, $1 million, it could be $100,000, I'd say $1 million, or whatever anybody can relate to, $100,000. Let's say I put $50,000 down, or $10,000. I pay $10,000 down. The asset's making 8% a year, just going up in value 8%. Now, additionally, I'm buying it under market, so I'm making money the day I buy it. But even if I didn't, and I don't recommend paying full price for anything, but even if I didn't, on average, property goes up about 8% a year. So I'm putting $10,000 down. So I'm getting 8% of my 10 grand a year, $80. Okay. Well, on the other $90,000, I'm getting 8% on that, but I'm borrowing that money at, say, 4%. So now I'm making 4% on $90,000. So I'm making $3,600 on the money I borrowed, and I'm making $300 on the money that belonged to me. That's the beauty of real estate. That's the beauty. And so I don't know how to make it any simpler to anybody than that. Okay.
Yeah, no, it almost seems too good to be true. I think some people think, and then they're like, oh, well, you have inflation, but it doesn't even matter, because the simple fact, I think the way you put it is so clear, is if you're borrowing money at 4% and you're getting 8% on it, you're making money. There's no question about it. And it's free money, because you're just that's how the banks make money. When they lend on a spread. They basically are making money from the difference between what they're charging you as an interest rate and what their cost to borrow that money is initially. So yeah.
Well, and I had a buddy of mine, that is in my jiu-jitsu, he said, he goes, I wish I'd have just bought this stock. He goes, and he owns quite a bit of real estate. He goes, I probably could have made as much on that stock as I did here. And I go, how so? He goes, well, it's been making about 15 to 20% a year. I go, but now that doesn't make sense. I said, because you're leveraging your real estate. You're going to get 15 to 20% on 10 grand. Okay. In our example, he's going to get $2,000 a year. We're getting $4,400 a year.
Exactly.
With 10 grand, with the example we just discussed.
Yeah.
And so Yeah, it's very simple. And again, it's just math. And the other thing I tell people, get an amortization schedule. You can play with one, on it, but play with it. Play with the numbers, because you can pay more for a property than even maybe you really think it's worth, but the interest, if you get involved to 2.5%, 3% interest, you're going to clean up on it. And if it cash flows, right? If it's bringing in money and it's covering the mortgage, what does it matter anyways,
Yeah. So. And it doesn't take much. I mean, obviously you've done a lot more deals than I've done, but for a period, I was just buying one deal a year. That's all I was doing, and just sitting on the property. And then after, 15, 20 years, I was able to retire without any, never have to work again. And that's it. It was just like, it doesn't take, I was working a full-time job, and I just found one property, one deal a year. That's it. That's all I needed to do. And that's it. I mean, obviously you can do a lot more, but I think it's
right. But you're making money doing other things that you know how to do. Yeah, it makes sense. But at least you're taking that income and putting it to work for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, guys, go check out the book. Go get "Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate." Perfect title for the book, and Amazon. Right. It's
on Amazon and Kindle. I'll tell you what's really cool. If you get it on Kindle, it's a digital book. Is I have links in there between chapters that go to my videos.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah.
Relevant to that particular subject. So it's kind of a way of getting a little more information related to that specific chapter. Even though it's not specific to that chapter, it's specific to that type of deal, or that whatever the topic is within that chapter, contracts, owner financing, whatever. But yeah, Yep, that'd be great.
Yeah, go guys, go check it out, definitely. And like I said, I mean, Tom is legit. He's the real deal. I mean, he's done way more real estate deals than anyone I know, and has amassed a holding of real estate that is quite huge, and I have seen it myself with my own eyes. So, that's kind of rare to find someone that actually, when we talk about somebody you can trust. So, and really, again, why are we doing this? Why am I even here talking to Tom? Because he's a friend of mine. He's a mentor of mine. He's helped me out. I want to help you guys out. A book for $10, not a seminar, not anything expensive. There's nothing at the end of this. I'm not making any money on this. We're just trying to help you guys. Honestly, that's it. That's, that's the thing. So take the advice and but read the book. Don't just buy the book, read the book, actually go and do a deal. Go try. You're going to have to do something. Yeah. And even if you bought your first deal, hey, that's the learning process, right? It's you're going to find out stuff as when you actually go and do it. And that's step one. And then you learn and you move on and you get better and better. And, even, Tom was just talking about deals he still misses, every once in a while. So.
Yeah, it's like somebody said, you can't win the lottery unless you buy a ticket. Okay. And I don't really play the lottery. I'm not a gambler at all. But, if you consider this a ticket, a $10 ticket, and you do something with it, it's like a lot of people don't appreciate what they don't pay for anyways. But, it's just simple. There's so much content, you can get off the web anyways. But yeah, John, I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom.
Always enjoy it. And
all right.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Take care, everyone.
My YouTube channel. I do have a YouTube channel.
Yes.
FlipAnything USA. And again, you'll just see kind of a day in the life in the investor. I'm on roofs. I'm buying stuff. I'm selling stuff. I bought a lake house. I bought several other properties. And you'll see me do bird dogging videos where I'm looking at properties that I'm going to buy or have bought. Anyways, there's a plug for the show. FlipAnything.
Yeah, go check it out. Go subscribe, guys. All right. Thanks again, Tom.
All right, man. Thanks, John. I appreciate it.